This is the AP Euro Semester 2 Country Project. We are doing Japan. My name is Derek.
I'm Dhruva.
I'm Sanjeev.
And I'm Wesley.
Japan's history can be divided into 9 general periods, dating back to the early 7th century to modern-day Japan today. The first historical document mentioning Japan dates around the 5th century, with evidence placing imperial rule starting later on around the 3rd to 7th centuries AD, during the Kofun period. The following regime during the mid-8th century created a more centralized Japan, with Nara as the first capital during the late 8th century, with power being held by the emperor. This would be generally identified as the Nara period. This would then be followed by the Heian period, with a controlling aristocracy in the capital by Kyoto, until the end of this period in which the aristocracy lost their power and military rule was instituted, marking the beginning of the Kamakura period, in which regional warlords would wield most of the power, with the strongest rising to become the overall ruler, the shogun. After a succession of powerful shoguns, Japan would fall into a state of near anarchy as provinces would declare war upon one another during the period known as the Muromachi period. In around 1600, during the Azuchi Moyamama period, the Tokugawa shogunate was successfully established, and in which the feudal system was re-established. During his reign, Tokugawa ruled from Edo, located in present-day Tokyo. And under him, the Edo period was a time of stability, but there was little or no development when compared to the rest of the world. Japan was completely closed off. Eventually, Japan was forced by the United States to trade due to the threat of America's vastly advanced ships and military might, capping the Edo period, after many attempts by other countries to try and trade with them. In 1867, the Tokugawa shogunate collapsed and gave way to the Meiji Restoration, with the capital now moved to Tokyo and efforts directed towards industrialization and modernization, along with increased trade with other countries. During World War I, the United States and Japan fought on the same side, although relations were not favorable, and after World War I, Japan's economy began to decline at a low point. During the times of the Great Kanto earthquake, the worldwide depression was triggered by America's depression and the Showa recession in 1926. The negative impact of the recession, combined with domestic political turmoil, ultimately contributed to the increased militarism in Japan during the late 1920s and 1930s. Japanese imperialist policy aimed to dominate China to acquire its vast petroleum reserves and natural resources. In the early 1930s, there were many small-scale military engagements and so-called incidents between the two sides. This would eventually culminate to a full-scale war around 1937, around the same time of the beginning of World War II. The United States would eventually enter the same war in December 1941 after the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces. In 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped in the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Japan was soon to surrender afterward. After surrendering, Japan was occupied with the Allied forces, marking the first time in the nation's history it had been occupied by a foreign power. After the occupation ended in 1951, Japan's government moved from imperial and military rule, like what it used to have in its previous history, to a more parliamentary democracy. Today, despite suffering massive losses during World War II, possessing very little natural resources, Japan has become an economic and technological powerhouse, and an important power on the international scale.
A total of 128 million people speak Japan's national language, Japanese. It is structured subject-object-verb, the most common word order, and often disregards pronouns as context is usually available, sometimes resulting in single words meaning complete sentences. It also often accentuates politeness as a result of its culture and history. In writing, the characters reflect meaning, not pronunciation, borrowing Chinese writing, kanji, of which children are forced to learn thousands of different characters, in addition to its 2 syllabaries, katakana and hiragana. Syllabaries are sets of consonant vowel characters which can be joined similar to letters and are indicative of the sound they produce, and are common to a whole slew of languages. However, while a majority of people in Japan do speak Japanese, it's not the only language. Others include English, Korean, Mandarin, and the 2 indigenous languages, Ryukyuan and Ainu. To the right, you can see some useful phrases a traveler might need to know, such as introductory and conversatory sentences.
Japanese culture. Japanese culture is unique in many aspects. One of its main specialties is the Bushido Code, meaning the way of the warrior. The 7 aspects of the Bushido Code are Ji, which stands for righteousness, Yu, which stands for bravery, Jin, which stands for humanity and charity, Rei, which stands for attitude, Makoto, which stands for honesty, Mei, which stands for honor, and finally Shuri, which stands for loyalty and devotion. Additionally, there is the concept of seppuku, which is part of the Samurai Bushido honor code. Seppuku was used either voluntarily by samurai to die with honor, or to not fall into the hands of their enemies. After the rebuilding of Japan by Western powers and the US, their culture made a significant shift. Japan proceeded to export things like anime, manga, and art overseas, such as Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and other series. Mascots rose with their purpose as to being raise awareness for public problems in infrastructure, public health, and security systems, additionally also in some cities. Finally, there has been the rise of hikikomori recently, which is when an individual withdraws from society after failing to enter the workforce and stays home, isolated from society. This is a serious problem as the Japanese population is dwindling, not growing, and the decrease in workforce is acting detrimentally to their economic growth. Another part of Japanese culture that stands out is the etiquette observed. Many of the things we consider completely normal here in the States is actually quite rude in Japan. This includes blowing your nose in public, tipping at restaurants, walking while eating. In addition, slurping your noodles shows appreciation of the dish, and is strongly recommended for you to bring a gift whenever visiting somebody's home. Religion. There are two major religions in Japan, Shinto and Buddhism. The meaning of Shinto is the way of the gods. People seek support from Shinto by praying at home, in and outdoor, or visiting shrines. A whole range of talismans are available at shrines for traffic safety, good health, etc. A large number of wedding ceremonies are held in Shinto style, however. Most ceremonies of death are held in Buddhism as it is considered an impurity. The Zen sect of Buddhism was introduced from China. Its complicated theories were popular among the military class. According to Zen teachings, one can achieve self-enlightenment through meditation and discipline. However, currently most Zen is popular among overseas people rather than within Japan. Some other minor religions within Japan are Confucianism from China and Christianity from the Western missions.
Japan has a multi-system parliamentary system of government, similar to Britain's, in which the king or emperor is the figurehead and the real power rests with the prime minister. The legislative branch of government consists of a House of Representatives and Council, and does have a Supreme Court system upheld by the police. It is one of the most free countries in the world, all the freedoms a traveler could possibly need. In terms of political parties, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe leads the Liberal Democratic Party, which has a majority in both houses. In opposition is the Democratic Party in Japan, which holds the next greatest portion of the seat, the rest being filled by a plethora of smaller parties.
For Japanese food, we have sushi, ramen, yakitori, and okonomiyaki. We all know what sushi and ramen are, so here are just some pictures for your viewing pleasure and to make you hungry. Next, we got the yakitori, which is basically barbecued chicken through a stick. It is grilled over a charcoal fire, designed for convenience and portability. The flavors include salty and salty sweet. Last, we got the okonomiyaki. It is a pancake with a variety of ingredients. The name okonomi, which means how you like or what you like, and yaki, meaning grilled. Back in World War II, wheat pancakes were nutritious, filling, and inexpensive, so it became extremely popular in Japan with a short supply of rice. For major sites, there is Mount Fuji. It is the highest mountain in Japan, being 3,776 meters. It is one of Japan's 3 holy mountains, other 2 being Mount Tate and Mount Haku. In Japanese mythology, it is believed that a god called Kuninoto Kutachi lives on top of Mount Fuji. Next, we have Kiyomizu-dera. It is a Buddhist temple founded in 778 by Tamura Maro, and the present buildings we see now were built in 1633. Finally, we have the Himeji Castle, a hilltop castle complex built in the 17th century, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Center. It is also regarded as the finest surviving example of prototypical Japanese castle architecture. And finally, we leave you with some images that depict the beauty of Japan. Japan is a 5 out of 5 must-visit country due to its unique culture and scenery. with a 4 out of 5 on safety, as Godzilla could show up out of nowhere and step on you. Should he show, cherish the last minutes of your life and savor a Kobe steak while praying that King Kong comes to save you. Have fun in Japan, we hope you like it there.